Once the structure and table of contents are defined, it is time to convert them into a draft. Note that technical writing is a collaborative task by a team of people. Although you can prepare the first draft alone, it will have to be reviewed, tested, and workshopped in several iterations until the format and layout is finished. Apart from interviewing subject matter experts, you also need to have some knowledge about the topic yourself. If you have information about the topic available, such as guidelines, standards, product guides, use them. Repurposing can help you, but make sure the information is not outdated, inaccurate, or unsuitable. Another important factor to consider is the styling guide. Use it when writing, and do not wait until the document is finished. For example, if you are writing a specifications document, you should use the technical guide for elaboration of monographs from the European Pharmacopoeia. There are different writing methods. We will explain the 3 most important ones: KISS, plain English, and the 5 Ws and 1 H. The source of the KISS technique is the military, which won't really surprise anyone who has served. The goal of KISS is to design a simple and informative document for the majority rather than one expert. That does not mean your audience is stupid. It means that the audience has not been trained on the topic, is a new team member, or needs to read the minimum possible amount to understand and accomplish a task. If you do not know the reader's level of knowledge or training, use the KISS technique. Plain English is another technique for writing clearly and simply without using pompous words or complicated jargon. Short sentences and simple words are easy to understand. This technique is a simple, specific, and effective technique for introductions and overviews. This technique stems from journalism and aims to ensure that an article captures the essential elements of a story. Try to address the 5 W and 1 H in just one paragraph. Who is the audience? Is there more than one audience? Is the audience primary or secondary? Primary audience is the target audience. These are the people that will actually receive the communication or use the documents. For example, operators and lab analysts. Secondary audience consists of readers who do not usually use the documents. They are reviewers, approvers, or auditors, for example. Why does the audience need the documentation? Look for the audience's needs, problems, or issues that the documentation solves. When will the audience use the documentation? You should map out the journey of when the audience interacts with the process or product. Where and how will the audience use the documentation? This determines the format, language, and requirements. What is important to the audience? You need to check the audience's priorities for the product or process. We could say, this procedure, process, is about what, it's performed by who, when, to why. For example, this SOP is about the use of an infrared spectrophotometer. It's performed by the quality control analysts when performing an infrared test of substances in the laboratory to check their conformance with the identification acceptance criterion. There are other writing techniques, such as the inverted pyramid writing method and the verb-noun structure. The review phase is essential because nobody writes a perfect first draft. It is normal to review a document several times before ending up with the final draft. Every time a reviewer checks the style and makes corrections, the quality and clarity of the document are improved. Consequently, the table of contents will change from the first draft you defined in the initial structure. It is common practice to identify each draft with a sequential version number. This will make it easier to track and manage changes. There are 2 parts to the review process. Part 1 is editing and checking. This process is to polish the document to bring it to a publishable state. I mean to make the document as user-friendly and accurate as possible before you submit it for Part 2. Editing is not just one single step. We can identify several levels of editing: rewriting, structural editing, validation, copy editing, compliance checking, proofreading, and layout and format checking. However, editing can be mainly divided into 3 fundamental levels: proofreading, copy editing, and structural or substantive editing. Part 2 is formal review and approval, made by key subject matter experts and other stakeholders who provide the formal go-ahead to publish. Once the document is reviewed, it will need to be formatted. You can apply a template, branding, and style of your organization in this step. Choose a formal or informal layout based on the audience you are addressing. Pictures, cartoons, and colorful aids are not usually found in formal documents. Here are our favorite tips and tricks to improve the layout of your document. Layout tips and tricks. Use bullet points to break down long sentences. Lists are easier to read. Include tables and charts. Numerical or ordered data is always nice to look at. Include diagrams to illustrate concepts. One image is better than a lengthy explanation. Use callouts to explain isolated concepts with an arrow, line, or number in a specific area. A tip, note, or insight. Once the document is finalized and reviewed, the document can be published. The document should be controlled beforehand, meaning it should have a revision history, a version control, and an approval. Take into consideration the policies of your organization and applicable regulations to establish the adequate document control system. The revision history is the version number of the document ID, the author's name, and a list of previously published versions that goes back to the first version. It also includes a summary of the changes from version to version. The approval is a section in the document that includes the reviewers and approvers of the current version, complete with their job titles and date of approval. The publication can be as simple as an email to a group of stakeholders. You can print the document and distribute the hard copies in a controlled way to relevant departments and employees. However, for documents that belong to a quality management system, we recommend uploading it to an electronic QMS, an eQMS. This software makes your life easier. It can control the electronic record in compliance with regulations such as 21 CFR Part 11. It can announce to every single employee by email, eQMS notification, and more that a new version is published and the previous version is canceled and replaced. That's all. Thank you for attending this course. I hope you found it useful and that you have learned what you expected. See you in other courses at Scilife Academy to continue your learning journey.